Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. I hope you are having a great day so far. I just want to apologise. My next door neighbour is like renovating their house and I am convinced the second I start speaking they're going to start hammering, drilling, sawing and God knows whatever else they're going to be doing. But I honestly have no idea when it's going to stop, so we're just going to have to be strong and try and zone it out if it does start. So I apologise for that. Along with the usual Tweety birds, we're now gonna have house renovations in the background, so fantastic. So I finally feel ready today to share with you my thoughts on the 492 foundations that I have reviewed over the last month or so, 6 weeks, couple of months even, going back a little way. You guys have been asking me, you know, which one is your favourite, which one is better than that one, how do these two compare, and all those kinds of things. And I know it's taken me a minute, so I apologise for that, but I really didn't want to do this until I felt like I was really being accurate and really giving you sort of well-established thoughts and opinions and experiences. I didn't want to just wear these once and then, you know, make a call. It's very hard because the first one of these I reviewed, you know, a fairly long time ago, and then the most recent one that I purchased I literally bought 10 days ago, maybe even a week ago. So again, I wanted to make sure that I was wearing all of them again to remember, to remind myself how I felt about them, to compare them when they've been worn more closely together. And you know me, I am busy normally, but it has just been our school summer holidays, so 6 weeks of me having both of my children full-time all day every day. So filming and even wearing makeup has not really been a regular thing that I get to do over the last 6 weeks. So again, you know, when you're wearing makeup maybe 2 or 3 times a week, you can't really get through 10 foundations very, very quickly. I'm slightly losing my voice because I went out on a very big night out on Friday night and I am still feeling the effects on Monday morning when I'm filming, so excuse the voice, it's all self-inflicted, I don't know what to tell you. So the foundations we're going to be recapping and ranking today are the Pat McGrath, the Benefit Hello Happy Flawless Brightening, the Anastasia Beverly Hills, the Makeup Revolution Radiance Foundation, the Urban Decay, the Kevyn Aucoin Balm, the Charlotte Tilbury, did I say that one? So we have 8 foundations for me to recap for you, and I'm going to be putting them in order from worst to best. So we'll start off with the one I like the least up to the one I like the most. And when I say worst, these are all very good foundations. Maybe 1 or 2 that I would actually say I don't like for whatever reason, but the rest I actually love them all. And if you've watched my reviews, I think I've reviewed 6 out of these 8, done full reviews on. So yeah, if you've watched those reviews, you'll see that none of them went badly, none of them were terrible, I didn't hate any of them. So this order is very much going to be my preferences, my experience and my skin type, how it worked for me and all of that stuff. So bear that in mind. Some of you guys will have had better or worse experiences with these foundations. Other bloggers will have had better or worse experience with these foundations, depending on their preference, their choices, their lifestyle, their skin, their age, etc. So the best thing I can do for you is tell you my thoughts, my preferences and my experiences. I have worn all of these at least 3 or 4 times for full day wear tests at this point. That's the point I wanted to get to before I was ready to really share it with you. I wanted to have given them lots of chances, lots of different, you know, weather situations, lots of different types of days, lots of different tests, and wearing them back to back as closely as possible. So this is going to be definitely a comprehensive opinion. This is not an opinion that's going to change in a week or that is not well thought out. I've definitely really considered these opinions. So coming in 8th place, and I know people aren't going to be happy about this, but my truth is that it's the Makeup Revolution Conceal and Hydrate Radiance Foundation with Hyaluronic Acid. I know people are going to feel like, oh, she's put it in last place because she's a drugstore snob, you know, she doesn't like drugstore. I know people are going to feel that way. I feel like if you've watched all my foundation reviews, you will agree and be able to see that this is the foundation that performed the least well on me, and I have also seen other reviews that had very similar problems with this foundation. When I first put this on, I loved it. It looked beautifully smooth and radiant and glowing, and I really, really liked it. I didn't have many problems applying it, but I have seen other people have problems applying it with drier skin or oilier skin. I think this is one that is probably best on normal skin, and one that can only really work well or nicely if you're going to set it with powder, which you know I don't like to do. This just did not wear well on me. That's why it's at the bottom. I feel like every one of these other foundations wore way better, considerably better than this one did, and that's the only reason why it's on the bottom, is just the wear time. Like, I need my foundations to wear for at least 8-9 hours without really, you know, much change going on in that time, and this one really, really declined in that time. So this was not a success and not one that I would want to wear again for that reason. Next up, one that I didn't buy the full size of, this is the Urban Decay Stay Naked foundation. Reason being that it is number 7 on my list. I liked it the 7th least out of all these foundations. So I actually really think this is a great foundation. I think it's a lovely foundation. It is an incredibly well wearing foundation. It wears really nicely on me. It looks beautiful on the skin, but it is very matte. I don't feel like myself when I'm wearing this foundation, and I also feel this on my face more so than any of these other foundations. It feels heavy. Like, as soon as I put this on, I feel it. You know, my preference is a luminous, glowy, dewy foundation, and for me that one, it's just too matte. I don't like how it looks on me. It photographs beautifully because it is a matte foundation. They always look better on camera and in photos, in photography. It looks beautiful, and it doesn't look bad at all. It looks very, very smooth and flawless, but for me, it's just not a finish that I enjoy personally on myself. It's too matte for my preference. I also found that I had to use quite a lot. I got 2 really full samples of this one, and I feel like you have to really use quite a lot of product to build up to like a medium coverage, to cover my redness, to cover my pigmentation, you know, fairly decently. I've had to use quite a lot to get to the coverage that it claims, and it does then feel heavy, and it does then crease in lines, which is, you know, what will happen if you use a lot of product. But I feel like I had to use a lot of product to get the coverage that I need and that the foundation claims. But I will say the shade range is fantastic, and the shade that I picked up in this sample, which is 50CG, which stands for Cool Green, is a very good match for my summer skin. So if you're around my shade, that is a very good match. If you prefer a matte foundation, I think you'll really enjoy it, as long as you don't want full coverage. If you're looking for more of a medium coverage and you don't mind feeling foundation on your skin, then you'll probably get on much better than I did with that one. Next up, another foundation that I really enjoyed, but just wasn't my ultimate favourite out of the ones that I've tried recently. So number 6 is the Benefit Hello Happy Flawless Brightening Foundation. I think this is a lovely foundation. Very natural, very luminous on the skin. The shade range is pretty poor, so that's one of the reasons why it's further down the list, but I really like it. It's a easier to afford foundation than, yep, I think all of the ones that are coming above it. So yeah, it's a little more budget friendly, but the shade range is really not as good as a lot of these other foundations. And so for that reason, it is a number 6 on the list. Next up at number 5 is the Kevyn Aucoin Foundation Balm. I really like this. It is beautiful, like absolutely flawless. Like, you look like a doll with this foundation on. I love it. I think it's beautiful on the skin. Mega smooth, flawless, full coverage, but a little too matte, hence the reason it is in 5th place. It wears very well on me. I really like the fact that you get a free brush to apply it with, which applies it beautifully, flawlessly, using very little product. It covers everything I need it to, like, very easily and quickly. I went to stay at my parents' house a few weeks ago, and this was the foundation I chose to take with me because it's so travel friendly in this little pot, and with the little mini brush as well that comes with it. I think it's perfect for traveling with. Again, the shade range is poor. certainly as far as deeper shades. I haven't had many people feedback to me about how they're getting on with the lighter shades, but I am shade 10 and I think there are only like 4 deeper shades. Some of the undertones on the deeper shades look a little off to my eye. So yeah, there aren't a lot of shades to choose from in this foundation balm, which is the second reason why it's further down the list. Just a little too matte to be higher up for me, but otherwise beautiful. I will also just advise you, I've watched a lot of reviews since I reviewed this one, and it appears to be very, like, love or hate. Love or hate. It just seems to work differently, completely depending on every single person's skin type and skin chemistry. So for me, it works beautifully. Very, very smooth, very, very long wearing, no issues applying, no issues with the finish, etc. But I have seen people with drier skins hate this. And I've also seen people with oilier skins say that it doesn't wear, like as in oils are breaking through fairly quickly. So I think this is probably best off for people with normal skin, but it may just be that it's literally every single person it's going to perform differently on, which is a bit of a frightening thing when it's so expensive. So definitely worth trying in store if you can first, or getting a sample, although that'll be a little bit tricky as it's like a solid product rather than a liquid. So now is where it starts to get very, very tricky, because I love all 4 of the next foundations that I'm going to talk about. I love them all. And separating them and saying I love one more than the other, it's kind of giving me anxiety, you know? It's very, very hard. But in 4th place, I'm going to give it to the Pat McGrath. I love this foundation. I know not everybody has loved this foundation, but I do. I love it. If I'm like just really doing nothing all day, or I'm, you know, running on a school run, or I'm going to work, this is like my go-to no makeup. Very natural, very skin-like, sheer coverage. This is like my absolute go-to when it comes to a natural makeup look. If I just want to chuck something on to even my skin out a bit, and, you know, a bit of a mascara and maybe some lip gloss, that kind of a day, this is the one that I grab for. I love this as a very natural, just healthy, glowing, beautiful skin. I think the finish is stunning. I love that you can completely tailor it from being like sheer to a medium coverage. I think it wears really well on me. The shade is beautiful. It has a great shade range. The undertones are extremely natural. It just looks like gorgeous, heavenly, natural, beautiful skin to me, and that is something that I love so much. It is obviously extremely expensive, which is probably one of the reasons why it's slightly lower down the list. I would like to spend maybe £10 less on this foundation. I love the packaging, everything about it. It just feels luxurious, and I love how it looks and feels on the skin. It's so lightweight that it just is like, looks and feels like nothing and wears all day. So I love it. I know it's very hit and miss, again, a love or hate with lots of people on this foundation, but for me it definitely ticks that natural no makeup box better than any other foundation I've used. So yeah, I really love this one. In 3rd place is the Charlotte Tilbury Airbrush Flawless Foundation. This is one, I think it's called a natural matte. So this is one, when I first put it on, a bit like the Urban Decay and the Kevyn Aucoin, it's a little more matte than I would ideally love it to be for my preference, but I'd say within an hour or 2, it's like reached that sweet spot. It definitely is one that over time it just looks nicer and nicer, and this wears insanely well on me. Again, this seems to be a very love-hate depending on your skin type, depending on your skin issues and your preferences. I would say use 1 pump of this. That's all you need for full coverage for full face. Less is definitely more with this one. So that's maybe something to try if you haven't got on well with it. Definitely only 1 pump necessary for the full face. It's in number 3 because of the shade range. Ugh, I had some issues with this shade range, and I don't believe there's really a better shade for me. I've got 9 Warm is my favourite shade right now. I believe there's better shades for me when I'm lighter. For my winter skin, there's probably a decent shade, but they are missed out 8N and 9N out of their shade range. There is no 8 or 9 neutral shade. This is definitely too warm, too yellow for me, but I just have to make it work. It definitely, when you first apply it, it looks way off, and then once it all settles in and your makeup is done, it looks way better, but it's still not a great shade for me, and definitely too warm, so that kind of throws me off a little bit. But it wears incredibly. I went to the gym just at the end of my day the other day at like the 10-hour mark or something, and it was literally still there, fully there on my face at the end of my workout. I looked a little like glowy, dewy, obviously. I sweated. I did 40 minutes on a cross trainer with this and it was still on my face, and it still looked smooth, perfected, poreless. I have heard, watching Mel's review, that if you have like a pore issue, you aren't going to like this, and I've heard ironically that dry skins also don't like this, which is interesting to me because it's supposed to be incredibly hydrating. So again, probably one that people are going to have more success with if you have normal skin. So that leaves us with these two guys, both of which I love. They are both perfection for me in lots of ways, choosing between these is almost impossible for me, almost impossible. They both have really good shade ranges, although the shade range of this one has definitely confused lots of people. But for me personally, I've got an absolute perfect bang on shade match for me, which is really unusual for me in my more tanned skin. It's very hard for me to find foundations that match my tones well, because I'm not a straight, very, very warm or very cool or even a classic neutral. So generally I have to make do with shades. This is like, it's the exact shade of my body. It's amazing. One of the best shade matches I've ever had in my life with my summer skin. So I love that, and that makes a huge difference. I love how dewy it is. I love that it's long wearing. It doesn't end up all over my children. It doesn't move. It photographs beautifully. It's incredibly smooth and healthy looking and skin-like while still covering everything I want it to with that medium coverage. I don't feel like I look like I'm wearing a mask, but you can't see my redness and my pigmentation. It's like the perfect amount of coverage for me. With this one, lots of the same pros as the Anastasia. I don't have a great shade match in this one. Summer or winter with Fenty, it's always a slight struggle for me with their shades. It's very long wearing. It has a beautiful finish. This is the foundation I've got on today. It is like glowy and luminous, but it doesn't get too dewy, which this one, I feel like if I was going to wear it for a very long time, I probably would want to set my T-zone with powder, like probably set maybe my forehead a little bit with powder, because it does get dewy, like dewier throughout the day. Whereas this one will kind of just stay at this nice luminosity throughout the day, if you know what I'm saying. The main reason I'm going to put this one in second and this one in first is because of the price of this one in the UK. They are almost inseparable as far as finish, application, all of that stuff. I like the shade of this one more than this one, but this one in the UK is something like £14 less than this one, and in my opinion these brands are very similar on like their marketing, where they position themselves in the market. So I find that unacceptable. I don't feel like in the UK we should be paying £10 more than in the US for the same product. I don't like that. I don't understand why they've done it. The rest of their products are not priced that way. Almost all of their products before this latest launch were priced slightly less in pounds than in dollars in the US. Suddenly this foundation and their powder are priced way more in pounds than they are in dollars, which doesn't make any sense to me. So for that reason, I'm going to put this in second and this daddy in first. So there you have it. Please ask me any questions I didn't answer for you down below. It's been a lot to get in, a lot of opinions, a lot of thoughts. So if I've forgotten something, please hit me up in the comments below. What I will say is I know lots of people are going to be like wanting me to rank my existing foundations within here somewhere, and that for me, I'm just like, I can't do it. I cannot do it right now. I can't do it because I haven't worn any of my other foundations that are not on this list for months. I haven't worn my Rodial foundation for so long. I haven't worn my Laura Mercier foundation for weeks and weeks, because I have been just constantly dipping in and out trying to get these all done and get my opinions formed on them all. So I couldn't possibly tell you which I like more or less than my Rodial, which I like more or less than the Laura Mercier, because I just haven't been able to wear them, you know, back to back, and just I can't even tell you. I can't remember. My mind is blown. But I will be trying to figure all of that out in the next couple of months, and have some favourites videos coming up to kind of help you a bit further with the entire foundation Monopoly chess, whatever it is we've been playing this whole time. So anyway, I hope you found this helpful. Fingers crossed we're going to have a little bit of a breather. I know I'm going to give you guys a little bit of a breather on foundation reviews. I'm kind of going to give it, you know, a few weeks. Even if something really crazy comes out, I'm going to try and give you a few weeks without a foundation review, because I can't take any more, you know? Anyway, I would love to see you in another video. Take care for now. Bye 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 bye.